And liftoff.
A few years prior to the Russian cosmonaut sightings, Dr. Farouk Elbaz was working as a senior member of NASA's legendary Apollo program. For 6 years, he was head of Apollo astronaut training and responsible for many experiments that were scheduled for testing on the moon's surface. While in mission control, he experienced firsthand some unusual events involving astronaut Ken Mattingly in the lunar orbiter.
The one most peculiar sighting of something that we never found out what it was, and we thought it should be easy to, was the sighting of flashes on the surface of the moon by Ken Mattingly during the Apollo 16 mission. One of the objectives of that Apollo 16 mission was to see how much can we see and photograph in the part of by the sun, but by Earth shine. The first time Ken Mattingly began to do this, he said something like, "I'll be damned, I just saw a flash." And we said, "What flash?" So he said, "I just saw a light flash on the surface of the moon. Something on the moon flashed." As he came around the next time and we said, "Now be careful with this thing and look again and mark your time when you see it so we know exactly when it happens, because we want to tie this to whatever is happening in the landing site."
One of NASA's experiments on the moon involved highly sensitive seismometers that, among other things, could detect the impact of incoming meteors. If Mattingly's flashes appeared again, the instruments should record the impact of a meteor, the most likely explanation for his sighting. And so, on the next lunar orbit, Ken Mattingly was briefed to look out for flashes and report what he saw.
He said, "Okay." And he did that, and he saw 2 flashes, this time on that one orbit, not one. So we picked up the exact times, and we took these to our colleagues, the ones that had the seismometers, but at that time there was absolutely no evidence of anything hitting the moon at this. Been picked up for it, there is absolutely no explanation. And that remained a complete mystery.
The Russians had an unmanned presence on the moon at the same time. Some say this explains the phenomenon. But according to Dr. Kasher, head of physics at Nebraska University, there are still some unexplained pictures. He examined this moving shadow on the moon's surface. A flash appears to come from a crater as an unidentified object passes overhead.
Hey, there's a funny object right there. And the astronaut's going to pan around here. Notice the moon never goes out of sight. There it is again, and the object, it's changed.
Dr. Jack Kasher has studied this film, and he's convinced that it shows a UFO on the moon.
The moon was in first quarter phase. The Earth would be way, way over there. I studied the physics of the effects of nuclear weapons, among other things. In 1991, I started doing research with NASA. My clearance was up to the secret restricted data. In fact, one paper that I wrote was so classified that I couldn't read it myself. I had to get special permission to read it. From my scientific point of view is that we really are being visited by extraterrestrials, probably have been for some time. And I believe that at least some of these UFO reports are genuine. And by UFO, I really don't mean unidentified flying object. I mean extraterrestrial spacecraft. I think the word has evolved into meaning that. And I think there are enough examples from enough reliable witnesses to suggest that this cries out for investigation.